All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a Hot Topics episode. We got some steaming hot topics. There's a lot going on in the world, specifically a lot going on in the country. Some positive, some negative, and we're going to touch on all facets of that. But before we get into it, you guys know the drill. If you get any value from the show, pay the fee. Share it out with your friends, family, whoever you think is going to get some value out of the show, share it out with them. It's kind of the ticket to admission to watch or listen to the show. You could also leave a review on Spotify or Apple. All your reviews, all your comments and feedback help us make this show better, help us get better guests on, help us make more podcasts. So thank you to all that pay the fee or leave a review. Before we get too far into the hot topics, I have a few announcements to make. One, next week we're heading over to the Farm Progress Show. You're going to be listening to this the week that we're there, but if you guys want to check out the Farm Progress Show, we're going to be there at the Suckup booth talking about propane, and we're going to have a panel discussion with other great farmers and farm creators, just talking about how we use propane on the farm. Good chance to meet us, good chance to talk, so meet us over there, and we'd love to see you, love to meet you. Also, I wanted to give a shout out. You know, we listen to a number of podcasts that we don't always say, the podcasts that we listen to, but one specific podcast that we really enjoy in the ag space is Discover Ag. Tara and Natalie do a phenomenal job. They're the hosts of just talking about current events in agriculture or in food. So if there's anything going on in the world when it comes to food or ag, those two, they're on top of it. They share their thoughts. They've been farm professionals their whole lives. They're in farming every single day. They're on operations, and then they make time to do a podcast kind of like us, and they share some really insightful thoughts and some cool stuff. So head over there. If you can't get enough of us, head over to Discover Ag and check them out and see what they're doing. So doing some good stuff over there.
Wow. That was very informative.
I'm glad you're
informed.
All right,
since you're shouting stuff out, I'll give a shout out to our good friend Rob Brenneman.
Yep.
We were actually over at his place yesterday, so last week by the time you hear this, but he built a brand new sow unit, brand new 12,000 sow unit, and he was kind enough to have us join his peer group. There was about 35 people, and we spent the afternoon over there. It was hot. It was damn hot.
It's been hot all week.
In fact, it's damn hot in the barn for Hot Topics because Torque forgot to come over and turn the air on before we started. So I'm a little shinier than usual.
You're glowing. You're just glowing.
I am glowing. That
You're losing weight.
I am losing weight, apparently.
All those walks.
I don't own a scale, but I ran into somebody who hasn't seen me in a while, and they said, "Are you losing weight?"
Dad's on the walking train. He's walking every morning.
3 miles.
Yep, he's doing a good job. That Apple Watch of yours is
and it sucks ass.
Kicking your ass, but it's good.
Mile and a half doesn't. 3 miles kind of sucks, but
a few more years with the grandkids. So just keep
for
doing
the long run.
Yep, that's right.
Anyway, it was a damn good time. Took us out for dinner. Great people. Met a bunch of great people that are in that group, and an amazing unit. State of the art. I've been out of the construction business for a while, and I'll tell you what, that top notch. So really enjoyed it and really appreciate it. So thanks to the folks at Brenneman Pork. That was awesome.
Last shout out. Check out that hat.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Dad brought these hats up, and I was like, I thought it was his barbecue hat that I got him, but no. Dad got some custom This'll Do Farm hats. They're not for sale. They're just for employees only right now, but got an American flag on that piggy.
So many of you know, many of you asked about the How to Barbecue Right hat, the fat American flag pig hat that I wear a lot. Actually, Sawyer got that for me for my birthday a few years ago. It's from Malcolm Reed. And I was always like, if we're going to do a hat, I want to do one with an American pig, a flagged American pig. And then I also had a pretty nice hat that you've seen in a lot of the videos that's just a gray. Actually, it came from the National Pork Producers, and it had an orange pig on it. And because I'm not all that original, I just steal ideas. It's a lot like being back in school when I just copied everybody's notes. But I took...
Or answers.
Or answers, yeah. Mostly answers, because let's face it, if you're going to cheat, if you're going to use somebody else's answers, there's no use of copying their notes.
Nope,
so,
that's right.
Anyway, I kind of combined the two, and I made a slightly less bulky American flag pig. And the only thing that needs to be changed on it is, down below it does say this will do farm, but I put it in blue, and I should have put it in white because it's kind of hard to read. And on the side, it says, cultivating contentment since 1853, and that's just a shout-out to the descendants of ours who actually settled this farm in 1853, so that's where that comes from. So, yeah, pimping ain't easy.
Hell yeah, baby. I like it. Yeah, update on just how things are going around here. We're getting closer to harvest. It's hotter than two rats fucking in a wool sock across the Midwest. I think everybody's feeling the heat right now. We shipped our last batch of pre-buy pork boxes this last Monday, and that was probably one of the hottest days of the year. But majority, I'd say 95% to 98% of the orders showed up A-OK, but you always have some that UPS doesn't get it there on time, or the dry ice or the box breaks, and you'll just have that. But good test run.
That's the thing. I mean, we shipped them at the hottest time of the year, and we learned a lot from the first batch we shipped. We shipped mostly all the 2-day air orders, and that's what's kind of screwy is on that, you can only have 5 pounds of dry ice in an order that's going to be shipped by air. So that's really more of a challenge than shipping the ground, because the ground, we put 10 pounds in that. And so really the only orders that didn't show up in good shape were ones where the box got absolutely destroyed, because
or they just didn't make it there in 2 days,
because there's plenty of ice to keep everything frozen. It's just, man, it's crazy, because some people sent us pictures. There's a guy that sent us a picture of his box, and it was a 2-day air box. Went to California, it's sitting on his front step, box is perfect. And then there's a guy, the friend of mine, shout out to Steve Stoltz, ordered a box out of the kindness of his heart, and he's from basically northern Michigan. He didn't even get his box. He got a note from UPS that his shipment was destroyed.
Yep.
So it really makes you wonder, like,
key takeaway, we got to get some sturdier and more durable boxes. I think that's my biggest takeaway from the first drop that we did. But trial and error gets you a long ways, and that's how you learn, is just by doing. So we're just going to make adjustments, ear to the ground, and listen to the customers. So thank you to anybody that's listened or watched and bought a box, and hopefully it arrived A-OK, and we're going to just keep improving from here on out. So got a hot market update for us?
I do have a hot, very hot market update, courtesy of Cat's Grain, Washington, Iowa. Shout out to those fine folks. Corn today, best price locally is $5.46, $5.75 at Eddyville if you get it there by the second, and $4.72 on the board. Beans, $13.61. That is the contract. That's the board price. I kind of got out of order there. So that's the September contract. $14.12 in Burlington. The highest bid, $14.45 from Cargill and Cedar Rapids. So if you'd like to go, spend your afternoon in line in your hot truck that the air might not work, you can go fight for your right to party at Cargill and Cedar Rapids, because that'll be a clusterfuck. Wheat, $6.04. Bean meal, $422 a ton, which is working down a little bit. Hogs, $80.20. They're actually up today. Feeder cattle, $246. Cattle, $179. Crude oil on the October contract is $78. Bitcoin, $26,000. It's like Tesla stock. It doesn't change. It just stays right there. Ethereum, 1651. Tesla, $230 a share. I threw gold and silver back in there just because, well, there's apparently some people out there that are accumulating. So 1944 for gold, silver's $22, and I kept deer in there. Deer got hammered, $386. If you remember that episode we talked about all the farm stocks, it was like $422 a share, $386 today. So that
Son of a
is
bitch.
The long and the short of it.
People are sick of deer shit, I guess.
I think everybody's got earnings. So retail, I was going to say something about that. I can't remember what two large stores. One was Macy's, and I can't remember who the other one was. They came out with their earnings, and their guidance was not good because the consumer is slowing down, and the amount of bad debt on store credit cards is going up. In other words, people that aren't paying their installment payments on time, which to anybody listening to this show doesn't surprise you that the economy's hurting because we've talked about it for a while. And so a lot of people are lowering their guidance as far as what they think retail sales are going to be. So that's kind of hurting everybody.
We got a mini hot topic before we get into 3 hot topics that we're really going to cover, but I just had to throw it in here because it's starting to rile up again.
This is going to be like flu season.
This word just, when everybody hears it, they just wince a little bit. COVID. Just makes you want to just wince. But boy, oh boy, the COVID train is starting back up again. Apparently, masks. I heard from a source, masks are starting to take shape in the hospitals again, and they're saying a new virus might be coming out of Canada, so it's time to get another booster, and we better be conscious of it. And I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I tell you what, I'm not going to go long, but we cannot do this shit again. I hope and I pray that we learn from this first one. But I truly believe the tide's turning in America and people are waking up to a lot of shit. And I'm not saying, and I've always stood this way on the topic of COVID, it's a real disease. It really happened. People died. People got sick from it. But to the extent that the government pushed it, the corruption behind it, the wishy-washy shit that they were saying about it, there's a lot of shit behind the scenes of COVID that ramped it up to be what it was. And ultimately, I think it hurt the country and a lot of people and a lot of businesses and a lot of small businesses, a lot of communities, a lot of people's health. Not only just if you got sick with COVID, but also if you couldn't work out, couldn't go to the gym. I mean, we just can't.
The kids not being able to go to school.
Kids not going to school. Social interaction. It wasn't good for anybody. And my stance is we can't allow another lockdown. We can't let it get to that point again because obviously we've gone this long. People are going on about their daily life, and it hasn't been brought up at all. But we're getting closer and closer to an election. Not putting my tinfoil hat on or anything, but getting closer to this election, and now we're starting to hear peeps again and whispers and new strains and, oh, we better get a new booster and bullshit, all that. And we'll start wearing masks again. All that bullshit. Don't be a sheep. Don't be a sheep. And if you're going to be a sheep, stop listening to the show because I'm fucking serious. I won't care if I walk into a business and they tell me to put a mask on, I'm fucking out of there. I'm out. I'm not abiding by that shit. I'm not going to follow that shit. I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm taking a stand. I don't care. I refuse, and that's how I am. Do what you want. Not saying you should. Make your decisions. That's what makes this country great, but son of a bitch. We better have learned. That's all I got to say.
I don't know. Is there a subscription service where you can just get bits of copyrighted music to play? Because now would be a really great time to have the Who "Don't Be Fooled Again" playing in the background.
We just can't have a short-term memory, and I still don't think have done a good enough job holding the people accountable for what transpired.
We haven't held anybody accountable.
Nobody's been held accountable, and we're just forgetting it. And I feel like they feel like it's just forgotten, and so they're just going to start round 2 again. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is really fucking think about it. And really, I hope we don't watch the mainstream media and all freak out and just accept what happens again. I hope that people don't do that. I hope people really say, you know what, I'm not subscribing to that bullshit.
I think the ivermectin tell, that just blew me away, because I honestly didn't think that the FDA and the government would ever back off of that. And the fact that they just, one day they hear about, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they just were like, oh yeah, by the way, hey, ivermectin, that's all right. We're not condoning it, but, if a doctor wants to use it, it's fine. Sorry. Our bad on that. That, to me, do you know how many people's lives and professional careers got ruined, or they got chastised, they got, you name it. I mean, the amount of damage that was done to people's reputations over that is insane. And then for them to just, hey, sorry, we might not have quite got that right. I mean, that's nuts. Anyway, we could go on. Well, just be aware.
I would just say to that point, they couldn't, I don't know how you say it. They couldn't declare a state of emergency if there was already a drug on the market that could treat COVID.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They couldn't declare a state of emergency and lock down if there was a drug that was going to be able to treat it.
Yeah.
In ivermectin.
Yeah, that's
so they had to get rid of it.
I never thought of that.
They had to get rid of it because they couldn't declare a state of emergency if there was something out there, because they had to go in development of this new vaccine. So, and I don't care what you say. If you look at Twitter, you look at all this shit. A lot of young people having heart problems. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just getting covered more by the media because of COVID, but just odd that that's starting to happen to people after all this bullshit. So, just saying.
My hope and prayer is that we do not have a COVID part deuce episode. I hope that we don't have to talk about it. I'm gonna just tell y'all,
I just let you know where I stand. That's where I stand. I'm not gonna be a sheep. I'm just not. I'm not doing it. I refuse. I fucking refuse. And I didn't really go along with it the first time anyway. We're lucky to live in rural America, so it wasn't as big of a deal here. But nope. I'm not wearing a mask to go into a restaurant and then take off my mask when I sit down at the fucking table.
Yep.
Where was I just think people are going to look back at this time in history and just go, what were they, that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Logic was out. There was just no logic. Just all compliance.
Well, lucky for you, last night, there was a whole group of politicians that are all lining up to go to bat for you. They care about you. You are important. They are not going to let any of this shit happen because they're not like these politicians we've had before. They're going to fix all the problems on day one. They're going to fix all these problems.
Yep.
And there was a whole slug of them.
Except
for one guy. There was one guy that wasn't there. But these other guys, they're going to fix it.
I feel safe.
That's good.
I feel talked to.
So last night was the first of the Republican debates on Fox News, minus Donald Trump, that was on Tucker Carlson. How many views did that?
258 million. And it broke a record of how many views it got in the first hour.
Yeah.
And Tucker kind of gave a fuck you to Fox News because he aired his interview with Trump 5 minutes before the debate. I actually didn't watch the debate last night. I ended up watching Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson. Typical Trump. I mean, he's hilarious. I was watching that and laughing just at the shit he was saying. But I mean, a lot of stuff he says, you kind of heard it before. You know, he's wanting to get back and do what he was doing with his policies, saying a lot of those policies you can't hate him on that because we were thriving. So. Yep. That's the thing I will give to Trump, but some people just can't do the polarization and how he is. But where we're at as American citizens, I'll take that over the alternative of Sleepy Joe. So
yeah. So my takeaways and I didn't watch the whole debate. We actually were at that deal. We were at that peer group deal, and we ate supper, and we came home after getting a little ice cream, so it was already going on. But when I walked in, the first thing that struck me was Chris Christie was talking. And I thought, what in the hell is Chris Christie doing up there? That guy, he does not have a snowball's chance in hell. There isn't anything about Chris Christie that you're going to say, oh, yeah, by God, that guy. Now,
Wasn't his approval rating pretty shitty as when he was running New York?
I thought it was governor of New Jersey, I think.
Or New Jersey?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was New Jersey.
It wasn't great.
Yeah,
and he's done nothing that, well, he hasn't done anything that great. But so I'm like, all right, well, we got him. And then this guy started talking, and I had no idea who he was. Like, I don't know where he came from, but his name's Doug Burgum. You ever heard of Doug Burgum?
Nope.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but Burgum. And he was talking like he knew what he was talking about, but I don't know where the hell he came from. And then on the end, past Mike Pence, I'll get to Mike Pence, is Asa Hutchinson, who he's an old white dude that was in Congress that, you know, he's going to fix everything that he was in Congress and didn't fix for however many terms, or maybe he was a governor. I don't know. Anyway, I was sitting there and I was like, what are these guys doing? What are you doing here? And Tim Scott was up there, and he spoke pretty well, but I don't think that there isn't anything he did to stand out in that crowd, and I don't think it's going to help him any in the polls. The thing that struck me, I think, the most was, in my mind, the arrogance of Mike Pence.
Yeah,
Mike Pence pretty much spent the whole night quoting. He was like up there with the Constitution in one hand and the Bible with the other, trying to beat everybody over the head with it about how dedicated he was to the office.
Yeah, that was
the whole November 6th thing.
Yep.
And, you know, how he's got all this experience and he's been there and he's done it, and that's why you should vote for him. But my problem is with all these politicians that is the problem. You have been there. You have done that, only you didn't do it. You didn't fix shit. All you did was just enable the back and forth to go and still going. We're still fighting over problems. We don't fix any problems. And I don't know which one of them started the day one shit, but I mean, every one of them could not wait to tell you what they were going to do on day one.
Yep.
It was going to fix the country.
My thing with Mike was, I watched a few clips, and my biggest takeaway of his campaign is going to be solely what his talking points are going to be are what he did in office. He was in office, his experience in office, his experience as vice president. He continues to bring that up over and over and over again. But everybody knows Trump was running the show, and Trump picked Mike Pence because he was a lesser character than Trump was. Trump needed a behind the shadows vice president. He didn't want a flashy vice president, and Mike Pence isn't that.
Pence was connected. Pence was part of the machine, so he knew how it operated. And in Trump's mind, that was good, because if he had to get in the mind of what these politicians were thinking, he could just go ask Mike, because Mike was a career politician. Yeah,
I think it's exactly what you said. All these guys, most of them have been in politics. Besides, how do you say that guy's name?
Yeah,
Vivek.
So Vivek Ramaswamy.
He's not a career politician.
No.
But one thing what I will say about him, he dominated it. He definitely dominated it. People seem to like him. He's third in the polls behind DeSantis. And I think he's going to rise. And he has done, like, back to the point of all the no-names on there that you're like, how the hell are they on here? He has done a phenomenal job of promoting himself. He's going on podcasts. Campaigning-wise, he's kicking people's ass when it comes to campaigning. Yep. And I'll credit him for that. But I don't know. He just kind of came out of nowhere.
He did.
And I just don't know him well enough to... He doesn't have my trust yet. But what comes out of his mouth, makes a lot of sense. And so, but back to they all try to make sense. They all try to promise you. They all try to make what they're going to do day one. At the end of the day, I think what real Americans want is just a real motherfucker in there. And like Mike Pence, he is not real.
No.
Nobody, like, we're going towards this ideology, and I think you saw it with Trump, is just like people don't want the career politician anymore.
Right.
People want a real guy that's going to stand for something that's not vanilla and isn't going to take money from special interests.
Yeah. I think that everybody was kind of watching for how Nikki Haley was going to do. I thought she did real well. DeSantis just kind of stayed out of everybody's way. Nobody came after him. They all went after Vivek.
Yeah. I am really surprised at how he's came out and campaigned. He's done a terrible job.
Terrible job.
I almost feel like his game plan is he knows he's not going to win because Trump's going to win. They all know. I mean, they're all banking on him. If he goes to prison, somebody's going to step up.
Right.
That's what they're there for. But I don't think
he's just going to play close enough that he's the second place.
But
choice.
I think his game plan this go around is like, I'm going to dabble in the campaigning, do a little bit of the election, but this isn't my time yet. Maybe, or else he's just terrible at campaigning. I don't know, but the amount of effort, there's not a lot of effort. He's not going on shit. He's not going on podcasts. And what he was doing in Florida was phenomenal, but as of late, DeSantis has kind of been, I don't know.
He doesn't seem to have a lot of fire.
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't seem to have a lot of fire. And so to go through, at the end of the day, the two candidates that I thought were the most vibrant and the most, like, fired up was Vivek.
I think we're fucking butchering his name, but I don't know. I would just say Ramaswamy or whatever.
Yeah, Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
You can't screw that up.
And Nikki Haley.
And Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
And I'll give kudos to Nikki Haley. And this kind of made this actually made sense to me, because one of Ramaswamy's points that he's made is about getting out of Ukraine, pulling all the money out of Ukraine, taking that money and going to the southern border, and not propping up the Ukrainian government because they're so crooked. And that resonates with a lot of people. And it's bullshit the way our government has funneled all this money to Ukraine without basically there even being a debate about it, really. But Nikki Haley, she really took him to task on that. And her point was that if you do not deal with the Russians now through the Ukrainians, you are going to deal with the Russians when they march into Poland and it's a NATO country, and then you are shipping American servicemen to Europe because it's a NATO fight. And she made the same example about how he's been critical about the money that we give Israel, and Israel's a hot button deal for whatever reason. But she made the point that because Israel is our ally, we help them. They deal with Iran, so we don't have to deal with Iran. And she was very pointed in kind of her she was kind of talking down to him about, you have a lot to learn about foreign policy on the world stage. And then Mike Pence, he jumped in all over that, trying to look like that he was the dad figure and all that. But Nikki Haley, there's a lot of points I don't like about her, but I thought she did a really good job in that situation. I thought she handled herself well. At the end of the deal, I think that those two did the best job for me, and the rest of them, and like you said, it all comes down to how much power is brought to bear to make Trump unelectable, if they can do that.
But when I was listening to Tucker, Trump knows, and the American people know, most American people know, the indictments are bullshit. Because if people bought it, his poll numbers would be way down. But he's killing it. He's kicking everyone's ass because everybody knows it's bullshit. And he knows everybody knows it's bullshit. Yeah. And he said that on there last night. People know it's bullshit that I'm getting indicted. It's not reflecting in the poll numbers whatsoever.
And I think that this is a tie-in. I'm all about the tie-ins tonight. This is a tie-in to our next subject, because the media and the political class in this country are getting to the point, I feel like they just are completely unequipped to deal with the prospect of nobody believing what they're putting out. Because Trump's ratings and everything they do doesn't seem to stick to him, and they keep trying to come up with more stuff. And they're just bamboozled as to why nobody believes them. And it's because they have no credibility.
It's all gone. And Trump said that last night too.
Yeah.
About mainstream media.
Well,
it's the truth. It's gone. It's completely and utterly gone.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us. I've gotten some pretty crappy grades in my lifetime. Nobody likes getting a bad grade. The best grade I've ever gotten, though, farmer grade. If you want quality pork delivered to you, stop over to farmergrade.com and check us out. Let's get back to it. So another whatever offshoot of that, another example of that is the rich man from Richmond.
Yep.
So Oliver Anthony, that song debuted on Billboard's Top 100, and he is, I think, one of only 5 people that has ever had a number 1 on Billboard that's never been on the chart before.
Yeah.
But
he had 3 songs in the top 10.
It's
though.
number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Do you know what the 4th song is?
No.
Well, I should have looked at. I know what the song was, but it's Small Town. Isn't it Small Town?
Oh, Jason Aldean.
Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
So that's number 4.
Yep.
So if you go back, what was it? A month ago, 2 months ago, there was a big brouhaha over that because that song charted so high, and everybody was up in a roar that
try that in a small town.
It's racist and it's this and it's that. Okay, that's the number 4 song on iTunes, and 1, 2, and 3 are all from Oliver Anthony. And I watched a clip of this group of people talking about it on CNN, and they were just absolutely like dumbfounded. Like they could not for the life of them figure out why so many people were engaged by that song.
Do you think they were actually dumbfounded as human beings, or do you think they were told they had to act like they were dumbfounded?
Well, I think they were told, but the other thing is I think the true believers out there within...
Because, I mean, my God, how can you sit there and say, how can people resonate with this song right now? How can you sit there and say, I just don't get how people are resonating with this music right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think most people feel the way that he feels, and he lets them know, and people relate to it, and that's why it exploded so fast. That's why it blew up so quickly. That's why Jason Aldean's song blew up so quickly, because people are so tired of the shit that is happening, the crime, the corruption, the politicians not having our best interests in mind, people going after our kids. It's just, it's overwhelming, and most people are feeling it. And obviously Trump's poll numbers aren't going down.
Right.
Because they know he's a real motherfucker and he's getting shit done, and love him or hate him, but policies were good, and he's not taking money, and he's not bought by anybody. Obviously, he's hated by the establishment. That's clear as day.
Right.
These two examples of these songs and these artists.
And he's not taking any money either.
No. He actually had a phenomenal Facebook post. If you're not following him, which I feel like I'd love to have him on the podcast because I think he'd resonate with a lot of people that listen to the show. But if you don't follow him on Facebook or Instagram, he had a really good Facebook post just about who he was, because he blew up so quickly and nobody knew who he was. And he worked in a factory. He got hurt, had workers' comp, worked back in a factory, played the guitar. He lives in a trailer.
Yep. And
he just plays music in the woods and plays his guitar, and that's how it blew up. And he gave a background of just who he was, and he said that, he'd been offered record deals since then, and he's turned them all down because he believes...
has no desire for a record deal and no desire to tour and play in 10,000. He just wants to play at the country market.
Because he said that, that's what's wrong with music today. That's what's wrong with society today. When you get big, you just get bought. You get bought, and then they dictate... Like all these artists now. We had Claire Dunn on the show.
Yep. It's exactly
Nashville.
what she talked about.
They want you to be a certain way, and you got to look, you got to act, you got to be the way that they want you to be for you to get in the songs that you sing. They dictate how your music is, how you play your music. And so he doesn't want that, which is big shout out to him for that, because that is awesome. And he's a true American patriot. I saw a video of him just talking about how he doesn't really, he loves all the love that and people are showing him, but he's happy that the message is getting out there.
Yeah.
That message is resonating. Like, we got to do something. Like, we got to wake up and do something. Like, people are relating to that song so much, and he's just like, we got to do something. Because if there's this many people feeling this way, he actually said we're not going to have a country in 5 years if we don't figure it out.
Yeah. Another great point, there is a push amongst the media to paint him and his music as a right-wing,
fuck him,
whatever. If you look at the, what do you call those? The compilations of people that listen, the reaction videos. Mm-hmm. So if you're on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, anytime there's music, there's people, and they're hilarious. There's a couple of these guys I absolutely love watching them. Listen to music, a song that they've never heard before, and they just give you their reaction. Well, there's dozens of them, of groups of people, very, very varied, very different, all different walks of life, all different ethnicities, listening to that song and their reactions. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say, I have not seen one that isn't positive, but I don't know. There very well could be some that are negative. But all the ones I've seen, people are just universally like, oh yeah, 100%. It's like 100%.
Isn't it so fucked up that something like that brings Americans together, and what do they fucking do?
They want to divide them.
They literally divide it by putting a group of people associated with his music, when it's actually not the case at all.
Not at all.
Most people of all walks of life resonate with that song. In fact, I saw some comments to his music. They thought he was talking about the capitalism system.
Yeah.
When he wasn't talking about the capitalism system. He wasn't talking about capitalism. He was talking about the corruption in our government.
In
the political system. But there were even hardcore left socialist people that hate capitalism, thinking he was talking about capitalism when he wasn't. Obviously, he wasn't.
They were finding something.
Because Richmond, it's pretty easy to tell that he's not. But It's just funny. It's just they've lost all credibility. They've lost all Americans are feeling this the way that he describes in that song. And if you haven't listened to any of his music, I highly recommend that you do. It's very powerful, and you could tell that comes from the soul. Like, you could really tell that guy is singing from how he's feeling, which that's pretty rare nowadays, I feel like. It's just like we've talked about on the show a million times. Authenticity and realness is uncommon.
Yes.
It's uncommon to be a regular guy. It's uncommon to just sing music that you want to sing or make music that you want to make that comes from the heart. Like, isn't that sad? Yep. It's uncommon.
Before we started tonight, we just had a little conversation because last night we were sitting at dinner and we were sitting at a table with some guys that, we'd never talked to before. And one of them knew us a little bit in the fact that his son turned him on to the podcast. And he made the comment to Sawyer that it was so refreshing because we were the same people in person that we were on the podcast, and he said that was unusual. And our conversation today was just that it's so sad that that's not the norm. Like, that people just aren't how they are, that so many people, and we're definitely not comparing ourselves as far as talent-wise to any of the people that we've just referenced. I'm just using that as an example that, so many entertainers, politicians, creators, they feel like they have to be a certain way because their regular persona is not enough. And
that's just, I think that's just a cultural thing, and that's what social media has done to people, unfortunately. But there's never been a better time to just be yourself than right now. Because I just feel like that's what people want. Like, an example of this, there's like these aesthetic TikTok videos of a couple. They bought an acreage. They got their house, and they're out throwing the ball with their dog, and then they're going to cook supper that night. And there's like these aesthetics couple, like, it's probably on my For You page. It's like these couples that just got married, moved into a house, and they're cooking dinner Sunday night, cooking dinner. It's like just showing it, right? And they're not talking or anything. It just shows the aesthetic of it, of different shots. And, that's great. It's a perfect meal. They're outside. They're enjoying it. Everybody's like, wow, that looks great. But then there's another video that I saw, kind of the same thing. Sunday night dinner, and he throws the hamburgers on the Blackstone, and, like, they stick to this Blackstone, and then he throws the buns on there. He burns some of the buns, and they just say, fuck it, and eat it anyway. And, and that got way more reaction and likes and views and comments than the one that was perfect.
Because everybody can identify with it.
Exactly. Everybody can that's just real. People, I just feel like, really, they just want the real. Yeah. And I think that's what we got to get back to. That's where we got to get when it comes to putting politicians in office, but also just the people we support. I think, I support the hell out of Oliver Anthony and what he's doing. I mean, I hope he needs to make money making music, no doubt about it. But I think it's pretty cool that he's not going the route of taking a huge record deal and them making him who they want him to be, So, but it's fucked up. The media's trying to label him as a right-wing music guy when everybody can relate to that. So,
yeah.
Anyway, it tells you where the country's at.
Speaking of authenticity and authentic people, do you think by the time the election gets closer, will we see Andy Frisella on the debate stage? Do you think he's going to make it? You think he's going to jump in?
I would vote for Andy Frisella in a heartbeat. I love the guy. I've listened to his Real AF or MFCO project podcast for a number of years, probably since I was 18. And he's talked about running. He's talked about it, but he says I got to have either A, enough money, or B, enough support of people that I know when I run, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to run to just run. He's going to run to win. And he says he's going to run. He's going to do a service of 4 years and get the fuck out. You'll never hear from him again like it used to be with old presidents. You served the country. You weren't in it to make money for yourself or your family. You weren't a career politician.
You had to be a successful businessman, farmer, whatever. You had to be successful in your own right to be able to afford to go to Washington, D.C., because you didn't get paid shit.
It served the country.
It was a service to your country. And then somewhere down the road,
lost that.
It changed. We lost
Isn't it funny that Trump didn't take $1 to be president?
Yep.
And he did exactly that. And that's just, nobody talks about that.
Whatsoever.
Nobody talks about that, which is so sad. But anyway. All right, well, we're getting down to the last topic here. You need a water break?
No.
It's too hot. I feel like the heat is coming off these outlines because it's just so hot from the topics we got on here.
They are pretty good topics tonight. We've kind of hit all the hot bullet points.
They are. We got one last one.
Especially hot.
This one is steaming. This one is it's flaming out. So it's so hot.
Did you notice how I introduced that? You want me to read that?
Yeah, you go ahead.
So this last week, Sawyer's president finally made his way out to Maui for some photo ops in the sand. Trump was talking about that, how they always like to photograph Biden at the beach, even though it's so damn hard for the old bastard to walk in
Looks
the sand.
like he's walking on toothpicks.
Yep, absolutely. And he took the chance to try to get down and make people understand that he felt their pain.
We're going to get through this.
We're going to get through it. I know where you're at.
We're 2 weeks late. We're 2 weeks late to showing up to this natural disaster happen in our own country. But we're finally here.
But Joe knows your pain.
Yep.
Because his house got hit by lightning. Almost, he could have lost his vet. I mean, it could have been really bad. It ended up just kind of catching his kitchen on fire.
Could have shut off his snoring machine at night. That would have been
CPAP.
bad.
Well, actually, that probably would have been better for the country. But anyway, yeah. So, you lost your house. You lost your house, all your belongings. Some of you lost loved ones. And, Joe knows just what it's like because his house got hit by lightning. He could have lost his vet. So, it's the same.
He was waiting 2 weeks just because he knew there were some griefing people over there in Maui that he needed to give him some time. He wanted to make sure he gave him some time out there to just collect their thoughts, and he was praying for it from further away. But that's why he waited to come there in 2 weeks.
He was trying to find Hawaii on the map, and he kept looking within the.
Kept flying to Alaska on accident.
Well, he kept looking around the continental United States. He couldn't find Hawaii, and finally somebody pointed out that it wasn't actually landlocked. But it's a bad deal out there, and it's getting worse every day. The most up-to-date numbers that I saw today was 115 people have died. Originally, there was over 1,000 people missing that they just didn't know where they were, and it's still 850 people that are missing. And so you have to ask yourself, gosh, what? I mean, I'd like to think that those are all people that just fled and, they're somewhere else, and it's just a matter of getting, everybody tracked down. But, man, I don't know what that number will end up being. I don't know how many people it'll end up being.
I saw that they're dumbing. I saw and heard this from somebody else, so could be true, might not be. But I heard from somebody that a lot of these missing people, they're dumbing down the numbers because I think a lot of kids ended up dying because a lot of the parents were out, gone from, and they were working, and the kids were home for the summer, and a lot of kids died, is what I heard. That's why they're not really.
They're being very slow.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is really sad, and I hope that's not the truth, but. It's really, oh man, this whole thing, how it's played out, why can't it all just be, it just always seems like there's some shady shit going on. Why didn't the president come? Why is it where the fires are burnt down, most of this property, it's all been residents that have been staying there for so long, and there's this idea brewing that could have been intentional to burn down that property to get the residents out so they could develop it. I've heard of a green new city. People talked about making Hawaii a green new city, making it the state-of-the-art great green state, Maui, city. Yeah.
So the governor is Josh Green. Josh Green. He initially, there's an interview, and I saw it. It was on the major networks, and he made some blurb about this was an opportunity to reimagine this area as a smart city. And he backed off that really, really fast because somebody got a hold of it, and this whole idea that basically developers and people have been trying to push people out of these homes, and it's happening anywhere because this is happening anyway. I read an article about this today. It's been going on for a long time because a lot of the people that live there in this area, they had jobs in the hotels and resorts, and so they didn't have very high paying jobs. And property values, obviously it's Maui, property values have just gotten higher and higher and higher, and the cost of living has gotten higher and higher and higher. Their wages have not, and people are getting pressured because you have this home and it's worth a shit potload of money, but you can barely make ends meet. And, the idea is, well, why don't you just sell that house? Well, you sell that house, where are you going to go? Because anything you buy to replace that home that you've had for 20 years, 30 years, is going to cost you double what that does. And so you're stuck. Yeah, your home's worth a bunch of money, but it doesn't do you any good because you can't move anywhere that doesn't cost you even more. Anyway, so there's been a lot of pressure on regular folks in this area of Hawaii for a long time, and people, when he said that, it instantly triggered a lot of people that were thinking, okay, what the hell is going on, And so he's really backtracked on that, and now then he's announced that they're doing all these programs to make sure that people are going to be able to pay their bills, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, so this doesn't happen. But I would say over 3,000 homes and businesses were burned, and the state is estimating that it's going to be over $6 billion of losses. And today, I think it was today, the power company. So there was a video that was floating around. I'll put my tinfoil hat on. There was a video floating around that it looked like a lightning strike, but the lightning was like just a straight as an arrow shot, and then this electric substation just burst into flames. And that was kind of the epicenter of where the fire started. And there was a lot of wind. It was dry. There was a lot of wind, and it went. But today, the power company, Hawaii Electric, they're being investigated by the ATF, of all people. So the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms division of the U.S. government, they're investigating this. And the reason they are investigating it is that anytime you have a municipal explosion or fire of this scale, they go to rule out that it wasn't a terrorist attack, a bomb, whatever. But when they showed up to do the investigation, Hawaii Electric had already removed all the poles, the wire, the transformers, and anything else it could from around that power substation before the investigators showed up. So now then, it's like you said, you got to, it's like, why?
Why can't it ever be
just clear cut?
Yep.
Hey, this transformer overheated, blew up, caused this fire. I don't know. And The other thing that I just thought tells you a lot about our good friend Josh Green, who I'd never heard of before. They had him on Face the Nation, I think. Is Face the Nation still on? One of the Sunday news shows on the antique television networks. He said on Sunday that climate change amplified the emergency officials' failure to contain.
Immediately, your credibility's out the window for me.
And they called him on it. They said, clarify that. Are you saying that climate change contributed to the emergency management officials not being able to contain the fire? And he said, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right. All right.
So they couldn't do their job because of climate change well enough?
That's what
I heard
saying.
the sirens. I heard that the emergency sirens didn't go off either. I've heard from people that there were sirens that didn't go off in a good enough time, or they weren't going off at all because for some reason they don't know what happened. They don't know why that happened. I also seen some videos from TikTok, of all places, of residents from Maui, and I've seen people that know people in Maui that say what you're seeing on TV isn't that it isn't the full story, and that some residents supposedly are getting eviction notices and getting kicked out of their homes for whatever reason. I don't know, but all that to say, it's just really weird right now. We got all these fires going, and we have the Canadian fires. Got Maui. Where else? Where else have we had fires?
I think we could do a whole episode. One of the craziest trends in the United States is the number of fires and explosions at food production plants. Like, it's an insane number. I want to say that over the last 2 years, and do your own research because I'm literally pulling this off of a corner of my brain from where I read it 3 months ago, but it's something like over 60. I want to say it's like over 60 food production plants, whether that be a fire at a packing plant or a fire or an explosion at a peanut butter factory or a fish cannery, all over the country. And very strange. I guess the common thread in all of those, and obviously the story I read, somebody had put this all together. They had looked, they had a list of all of these fires. But kind of the common thread was that they were all investigated, or they were in the process of being investigated, and they couldn't really figure out what happened. Like, they couldn't find that it was a transformer, or they couldn't find that this or that, or faulty wiring. Like, they were just basically unsolved. Like, the authorities were like, well, we don't really know what happened. Very odd. A lot of very odd shit.
Yeah, I mean, where I go to, this is real tinfoil hat shit, but do you think that the New World Order, or the people that want this green new world and want us to get rid of our gas stoves and drive all electric vehicles and put solar on our houses, even if doesn't make sense to put our solars on our house if we live in a state that doesn't really make sense to do that.
Eat chocolate-covered crickets because that's all we got left.
Eat chocolate-covered crickets because agriculture's terrible. Put up as many windmills as we can. You think those people would do anything that it takes to make their point seem like it is the only solution to the natural disasters that are happening, quotation mark? Do you think they would go to the extreme level of purposely setting shit on fire to really make sure that their point gets across? And I'm not saying might not be the World Economic Forum, the people running the New World Order or whatever, but it could be Antifa people. There's a lot of crazy motherfucking people out here, that climate activists that are just plain playing nuts. I mean, I saw a video of them going to a golf course and just berating the shit out of just everybody golfing on the golf course. Just crazy motherfuckers. Just crazy climate activists. Thought I was in Fallout with the... It's crazy, but I don't know. That's real out there, but at this point, I wouldn't put it past them.
Well,
I just wouldn't put it past them, and it's like we said, why can't it always just be simple?
cut and dry.
Cut and dry. Why can't it be?
It all goes back to kind of what we started with, in the fact that...
And then when these guys come out, and their first thing that they always say is, well, it's climate change. It's climate change. It's climate change. To me, in my mind, I instantly just go, really? Like, that's the first thing you're going to say every time something like this happens? It just makes me feel... I feel like you're not thinking about it. It makes me think you're just being told to say that. It's making me think you're trying to push a narrative, is what it makes me think.
I think the worst part of where we are today is that there is so little trust from the American people. There is so little trust of every level of government, all the way from their local level to the presidency, that things that would not even be questions or thought of a decade ago, today, when anything like that happens, you just have to stop and go, what's the deal? That's the problem. There's no... When you have no faith in your public officials, it makes it really hard when something happens that is not cut and dry for people not to feel like they're not being told the whole story. And the other thing is, as Americans, the last 10 years, the last 15 years, don't you feel like we've pretty much been treated like children? Our ruling class, it's like a few good men. You trade out the politicians, but every one of them tells you, you want the truth? Well, you can't handle the truth. So we're not gonna tell you what's really going on, because we're like the nanny state. And that narrative and that level of arrogance, whatever you want to call it, I guess I would call it arrogance, that, we're going to take care of you and we're going to tell you what you need to know. We're going to tell you what you should think. I feel like that's all kind of starting to unravel.
Pisses me off.
And now you are getting to the point where every day I think there's more and more people that just don't believe any of it.
No.
And I sure as hell don't have the answers. I mean, that whole deal out there in Maui, I think it was handled It was handled very, very wrong. There were roads that were closed because power lines came down that literally trapped people from getting out of the area, and they literally died in their cars. Well, I don't think it was anything intentional by the first responders or the police or whoever. That's just a bad chain of events that happened. But what's bad about that is that happens, and then when you're in a state where there's no clean-cut answer, that's how people start to think, well, what else aren't they telling us? What else aren't they telling us?
Well, and just the response, like, we didn't get out. Like, did they send how long did it take till they got aid? Like, how long till the National Guard? How long till...
the fires went from they started on the 8th. They didn't get them extinguished till the 11th.
Yeah. And then why? It's like, then Biden, didn't show up for 2 weeks. And talking about Ukraine, and we're aiding Ukraine. And then when our own state in America, our own people are suffering, it's like it's just like, what? It's so ass backwards. Why are we aiding this country? And then at the same time, our one of our states, people in this country are suffering, and we're not. You need to be there you need to be there that day.
Yeah.
That day. Like, George Bush 9/11, he was there that day.
Yeah.
Because that, and I mean, 9/11 was terrible, but Maui fires, people are dying regardless. Like, you need to get there. You need to be there. You need to be there for the people. But let's be honest. Joe Biden isn't fucking there. I mean, he's just not. He's
Even
being
when
told
he's there, he's not there.
It's like you can't even be, like, it's almost like you can't even be mad at Joe at this point because Joe's not even with it enough to, like, probably, I don't know. He's just, there's no way he's the one calling the shots. So
that's the thing. The scariest part, to me, the scariest part of the Joe Biden presidency is the fact that you have to accept that he is really not your president because he is not making the decisions.
There's no way. There's no way.
He is the front man. There is no way that man is making the decisions. The decisions are being made by somebody that you did not elect.
That's the scary thing.
They're made by a cabinet that you didn't appoint. That is the scariest part of the Joe Biden presidency as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I just want to say prayers to the people of Maui. Pray for them. Sorry that happened, and I'm sorry that we didn't, as a country, we didn't respond fast enough, and because what the fuck? I just think I had a fucking butterfly or something fly on my neck or something right there.
It was a very tiny, tiny drone.
Oh, it was a drone. They're listening to us. Are they going to put their darts into us? They're going to put their darts into us. I don't know. Just prayers to them, and I don't know what the answers are. We're just bringing you what our thoughts are, but at the end of the day, we just got to keep doing our part, guys. We got to vote the right people in. We got to set the standard in our own communities, and I think people are waking up. Back to, Oliver Anthony, Jason Aldean, Trump's poll numbers. I think most people are not.
Not buying.
We're not buying it. We're not buying that shit.
Yeah,
we're really not. It's not like it was. It's not like it was 3 to 4 years ago. It's not like it was even a decade ago. I think people are really getting smart about not just reading the headline. They're really digging into shit. They're talking. They're listening to other points of view. And I know there's some people out there that aren't both sides, that no matter what you say, they're just stuck in their ways. But I think more and more people are coming together and figuring shit out. And that's all we can do. Yeah. That's all we can do.
And every time that I get together with a group of people like we did last night, so there were people there from all over the United States. Well, yeah, pretty much all over. But I mean, heavily on the Midwest, but still, there was a lot of people there from different places. And I always find it amazing when you get a group of people together that are in business or that are responsible for taking care of their families and employing people. Man, we all feel the same way. I mean, that's the thing. The conversations we had, you can feel pretty... I guess my point to you is you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone, because every time, when we get people that are like, we love listening to your podcast, sometimes I'm always wondering, do we sound like we're crazy, And people are like, nope, these are the conversations that we have sitting around our dinner table, sitting around our break room, sitting in our boardroom, and
sitting on a bucket at the hog barn.
Yeah, exactly. And, do your own research. That's the greatest thing about the technology we have today. It's so easy to acquire information. Just don't take it from some talking head that is sitting on MSNBC or, at the same time, you hear somebody that's rolling some coal on Twitter. That's not the only point of view. Check it out. See whether what they're telling you checks out. And
I think people are doing a better job at that. I really do. Even since we started this podcast, I feel like we've done a better job.
Yeah.
And I ultimately think if they start pushing this COVID shit again, not to go back there, but that's going to be the ultimate test to me. How are we actually going to respond if they really try to ramp it up? What are we actually going to do as a country and as Americans? Are we going to subscribe to that shit again, or are we going to go on about our lives like we have since all that shit was over with? we going to let them push us around? I don't know, but I feel like we're turning the tide, and I feel like we're going to get there. We're going to get out of this. We're going to get better. The country's going to get better. The economy's going to get better. It's going to come back. It always does. So just fucking keep grinding. Keep doing your thing. Stay positive. We still live in the best country in the entire world, as far as I'm concerned, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I wouldn't want to be doing I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. So
Come to Decatur. Come to Decatur, Illinois, and see us at the Farm Progress Show. We might even do the Farm for Profit podcast.
I think we are. I think we're going to do the Farm for Profit podcast.
They, that's a legitimate operation, and they took pity upon us. So I think we're going to sit down with those boys and do a podcast. So we might actually learn some tips because they got really nice shit. They got nice equipment.
That's right.
They got a budget. We might be able to pick up some.
Better take our notebooks.
I might just take a bag and they got so much equipment. They don't even know how much stuff they got. We might just pick up some new stuff.
I'm with it.
5-finger it right out of there.
I'm good with that plan. I'm good with that plan. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna conclude today's show. If you got any value, please share it out with your friends, family, coworkers, employees, whoever. Pay the fee, share it out, leave a review on Spotify or Apple. We love you guys, and we'll see you back here next week for another episode.